Come on, man. You got Larry June in the building. You listen to the Morning Roast, and we're doing numbers, man. Good job, Morning Roast. Sock it to me. Hey. Yee!
See, when Shasky's out, we don't do numbers, Larry. We just don't do them. Only when Shasky's in.
It must be a single with Nate Dogg singing on it.
Thank God for Shasky. Tune in to Warriors Live at 6 p.m. on 95.7 The Game, presented by Xfinity. Supercharge your home with supersonic Wi-Fi. Unbeatable internet only from Xfinity, excuse me. The NBA's trade deadline is Thursday, and we have you covered with all the latest news leading up to it. Our trade deadline coverage is brought to you by Boxer and Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. The trade deadline tomorrow at noon Pacific time. Will Wiseman get moved? Will Moody get moved? Will the Warriors be active at all at the NBA trade deadline? We'll talk to Sam Amick at 8:30 about that. But in the meantime, we're going to talk to the voice of the Carolina Panthers, and he's been there every step of the way. Jim Szoke, he joins us here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. Jim Szoke has called every single Panthers game since their existence. Back in the day when Dom Capers was their first ever head coach. So he knows everything about the Carolina Panthers, maybe even shed some light on Christian McCaffrey. Jim, good morning, man. How you doing?
That makes me feel old. I'm doing well. How are you guys today?
We're doing good as we have Jim Szoke here in the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. We're doing good, and we want to know a little bit more about Steve Wilks. Now, we were a little surprised out here on the West Coast that he didn't get the job in Carolina, but now, look, he's our gain out here on the West Coast. Pretty good defensive coordinator. He was hired yesterday by the Niners. So what type of guy are we getting? Is he a blitz type of guy? Is he a 4-3 guy? Who is Steve Wilks as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely 4-3 to begin with, and not afraid to blitz. I don't. It's not like he'll be overly aggressive in that approach, but he'll definitely blitz. I mean, obviously, optimum is, you guys are set up with such tremendous players. You can get there with 4, probably a lot more than other teams can. So you'll see some of that. Of course, he played in the secondary. He came back last year as a secondary coach before he became the interim head coach. So that's to really narrow it down. His specialty is defensive secondary, in particular there. But again, he'll game plan different ways. I mean, he'll go man, he'll go zone. I mean, he won't be predictable. I think that's really, if you had to kind of sum it up, I mean, it's not going to be like you'll just see one thing about this is the brand of how they play defense wherever he goes. That he'll mix it up, and he will absolutely vary it based on the opponents that you're playing each week.
What makes him so popular to the players? Because it did seem like the locker room really liked him.
He is very direct. He is his nickname is Denzel. He'll tell you that when you get to know like Denzel Washington. He's very much direct. And he says when he talks as a head coach, as the interim coach, he says, when I talk to you guys in the media, I don't say anything about my players I haven't already said to them. And so I think they respect the fact that he was so direct with them, whether it was positive or negative feedback. First of all, he's incredibly competent and qualified, so he knows what he's talking about. He knows what works. He's been around the league for decades now. And I think he just earned that respect of the players where he talks to them individually and really tailors things that put them in a position to be successful. And, when he became interim coach, he had to get rid of a couple of assistant coaches.
Right.
He had to move Al Holcomb into defensive coordinator, which Phil Snow was still here, left behind by Matt Rule at that time. So he had to make some tough decisions, but he makes them decisively. There was, as a head coach, a 3-week period of time where he changed the starting quarterback 3 times, and it was the right move each time.
Oh.
So I think he'll get that chance, I think, to be a head coach again in this league. But as far as a coordinator goes, that just gives you a little insight into like how he'll function on that side of the ball and how he'll treat the players and the rest of the assistants on that side of the staff.
Jim Szoke, I'm stuck on a Denzel comparison here. So is he more training day Denzel Washington or he got game Denzel Washington?
It's training day. It's absolutely training day. That's where it came from. And it's a name some players gave him back in the day. And, he won't bring it up, but if you're asked about it, he'll laugh and they'll acknowledge it. It's definitely something that the players back in the day began calling him back the first time around with the Panthers.
Man, we will definitely be bringing that up because we love Trading Day on the show. Jim Szoke joins us on the Bud Light Guest Line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy
King
to enjoy.
Kong.
Yeah, it got nothing on me. No doubt about that. And Steve Wilks, hopefully it's a partnership here. When it comes to Steve Wilks and his defense or whatnot, you mentioned that he may not blitz, he may go to zone. He must be excited to get Nick Bosa because he had Brian Burns out there. And Brian Burns, I swear to God, I've never seen somebody come off the ball faster than Brian Burns out there in Carolina. He must be excited. What type of things can he do with Nick Bosa on the defensive line?
He'll probably, be interesting to see him. I don't know how you guys have used him, honestly, as much. We just had the one game last year where you kicked our tails here at Matt Rule's last game with the Niners here when you guys came out here earlier this year. I don't know if they move him around or leave him on one side, but he might move him around a little bit. But I'm guessing, based on what I see, with what Shanahan wants is this. You've got something that's been working there. You don't want to change too much, probably off of what you guys have already been doing in the past. I think he's that kind of a coach too. Again, we'll tailor it to what the players are used to and what they expect, as opposed to him coming in and changing. I'm sure he'll tweak things that make sense, again, based on opponents and so forth there. He's got any coach would love to have a guy like Bosa out there, and he didn't get to have it this year. But we had Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns the year before, and of course Reddick is doing great with the Eagles this year.
Steve seemed like he was really upset that he didn't get the job in Carolina, the head coaching job. I don't know if you know him that well enough to know where his motivations lie, but it seems like anybody who stands next to Shanahan gets king made, at some point. McDaniels, obviously LaFleur and Saleh go to the Jets at one point, and different guys, and now obviously DeMeco Ryans, have had opportunities to grow from the staff. Do you think him coming here is the evolutionary step to getting a head coaching job?
I hope so. I hope that for him, and I think I'm sure he will, in the back of his mind, think that way. Here's how he's going to speak to you guys, and he lives by this. He plays the game week by week. He never forecasted anything about the job as he was coach. Every week he'd be asked, do you think you've done enough to get the head coaching job? And every week he would say two things. I'm focused on this week's opponent, say Detroit, whoever it was. And the other thing is, I'm not making this about me. At the end, we'll count them up, and I'll be evaluated, and they're going to decide what they're going to decide. But he will not make it about him. He is the ultimate team guy, and he says it and he means it. So there's no question, as a human being, he had to be disappointed not to get the head coaching job. Many believe that he had done enough to earn the head coaching job, and that's not a slight at all on Frank Reich. Reich also deserves to be a head coach in this league. But I think Steve Wilks, to many eyes, also had done enough. Going 6-6 with a 1-4 team without any chance to really incorporate much of his own philosophy into the personnel and that kind of thing here. So what you'll get from him is the ultimate team guy. He'll talk about whatever's coming up next, and he will not make it about him. So you guys can ask him, do you think you'll be a head coach in this league? And he won't talk about it. He'll talk about the job that he's been hired to do. And at the end of your season, if you're all successful and someone deems him the next head coach, so be it. But he won't speak in that way, I don't think.
Jim Szoke, Bud Light Guest Line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Jim, I want to say a couple things before we let you go. One, thank you for Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if you made that happen. I know you've been the voice of the Panthers since 1995.
I did not make that happen.
I know, I'm kidding here. But thanks for Christian McCaffrey. We love him. It's good to have him back in the Bay Area. And by the way, say hi to your wife, Sandra. I know Sandra's trying to work out some things here at KGMZ with Impact Marketing Partners. So I got an email saying, hey, my husband's going on tomorrow at KGMZ. Small world. He's going to be on the morning row. So tell your wife,
so
Sandra.
The sales staff has been in touch with you over there now.
Yeah, there you go. We got Sandra. Maybe you come out here to the West Coast too, man. We do good business.
Jim, we're for sale.
Absolutely.
just let it be known. We're for sale. You're on the Bud Light guest line, but every inch of my body and anything that comes out is for sale. Like NASCAR.
You understood the assignment.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Jim, man, good talking to you. Thanks for some insight on Steve Wilks, man. And we'll talk to you down the line.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Anytime. Jim Szoke, Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.